Welcome to Morning Market Call. I'm your host, Doug Mumford, and with me today we have a special guest, Shawna Gygi, who is the Associate Director of the MBA Career Management. Thanks for being on the show, Shawna.
Happy to be here.
I know that's not true because you have avoided our past efforts in coming on the show, but we're really glad that we finally convinced you to come on.
We'll see if I'm still glad to be here after.
Shawna actually has a little toy that I'd like to point out. It's an iPad. It has nothing to do with our show today, but it's nifty, so I thought that I would let her show that off.
I appreciate that. It's a crutch.
Yes. No, I'm sure it's not. Shawna is the liaison between employers that are looking to recruit BYU MBA students and the students. Our past segment, we talked with Dr. Merrill about the state of the BYU MBA program and where we've come from years past. For this segment, I invited Shawna on because I wanted to hear her perspective on how we're doing now placing BYU MBA students at top companies versus where we were a few years ago. So my first question for you, Shawna, is can you provide some examples of companies that are recruiting BYU MBA students that weren't looking at us a couple years ago?
Absolutely. One of the things that we have done is to create a greater focus on corporate development. And as we have raised awareness with companies, we've seen them become interested, and as we've placed successful students, we've seen a larger interest. So companies like Adobe, Amazon, Credit Suisse, Microsoft, these are companies that several years ago we didn't have a lot of face time with, and we're often trying to put students through the back door. And now we've got these companies coming to us through the front door.
That's great. And what is it about the program or the students or perhaps your office's efforts that has changed that are prompting these companies now to come into the front door? Is it that the caliber of students is rising? What is it?
I think Dr. Merrill hit on it in the earlier segment talking about that virtuous cycle. And when you increase the caliber of the companies that come, you get a better quality of student that looks at your program. When you place a better quality of student, inevitably you have more companies looking at you as a competitive top tier school, and then the rankings climb. So it's all not one thing, it's all comes together to make us a successful event.
So we're in a virtuous cycle, onward and upward, placing and attracting higher quality students each year.
That's what I've seen.
The top companies. And one question that many MBAs probably have right now is, it's a tough economic climate this year. Do you anticipate that we're going to have success like we have in years past, placing students still at the companies, getting close to 100% placement, close to graduation? How is that looking right now?
You know, we had a good year last year, all things considered, and much of that was due to a really concerted effort on behalf of the students, working extra hard and paying additional focus to this job search process. Yes, the economy is still challenging. We are benefiting, though, because of well-placed alumni, students who go out into the workplace, make a solid contribution, raise awareness, and that company can then look at us as a potential for them to come and recruit more talent, like what they have already recruited. Ideally, if the economy were functioning on all cylinders, we would probably have a little bit easier job. It makes things a little bit more challenging for Dick and myself and Jim Engebretson and others in the Career Center that are concerned. And we have probably traveled more than we have in years past, and that has paid big dividends. And we anticipate doing more of that as we not only try to encourage companies to come, but take students on trips and allow students to get exposure in companies and industries where they might not otherwise.
If you could speak to some potential employers that aren't yet recruiting BYU MBA students that we'd love to have come and take a look at us, what would be your message to them right now?
Right now, I think the message is that we used to be perceived as a hidden gem. Wall Street Journal did an article on us, and that is quickly not the case anymore. We are becoming a top-tier competitive school where our students are getting visibility either through case competitions or internships or legitimate securing a full-time job. I think that if I could talk to companies, that's the message I typically try to send when I do corporate visits is, we have a great population of students. The bar is raised every year. They seem to be getting better. The numbers are growing. And they really ought to look at us in ways that they haven't otherwise looked in the past.
Shawna, we really appreciate you finally being on the show, and thanks for coming on. This has been a great discussion about the recruiting currently at the BYU MBA program and where it's going. For Morning Market Call, my name is Doug Mumford, and tune in next time.
Morning Market Call is brought to you by the Marriott School of Management in cooperation with the Brigham Young University Department of Communications. MMC is made possible by generous donations from Larry Tasjan and Gary Williams. This show was produced by Jeff Butler, Janessa Cloward, David Wood, and Doug Mumford, with line producing by Beth Grimmett. For more information, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook.